Quo Vadis Homo or man? Well, I will respond through the thing that personally I'm mostly addressing. It's mostly urgent for me, and that is the climate crisis. So this is something that I can very obviously see in relation to Quo Vadis Homo, because it's something that we are slowly getting into a climate crisis, and it's getting worse and worse. And by our everyday actions as a humanity, as nations or as individuals, we are contributing to something that is going to be our future, which is not a very positive vision in itself. But I think that also there is still a little bit of time to shift this direction that we are going, even though I know that we will already suffer as humanity, we will suffer the consequences. I still think that if we will be able to transform our societies, if we will be able to transform ourselves, our way of thinking, if humanism will prevail and not some kind of division between societies, between nations, if helping to each other will prevail, I think we will be able to deal with this crisis. Maybe we won't be able to avoid the negative consequences of global warming, but maybe we would be able to help each other in those situations, to adapt, to transform our being, our everyday life. And this is related with something that is deeper than a social or ecological crisis. It is related with some kind of moral or humanist crisis that I feel. So this is that other worrying movement that I feel in the society, that I feel there is much more of tension between different groups inside of nation, the tension between nations, tension between social groups, between different, if I can say somehow, social classes. And it is all related, you know. It's very hard to divide ecological crisis from a social crisis. It's hard to divide the consequences of global warming from things that made it happen, and that's mostly a consumption that went over the top, and the focus on consumption, as if it became to be a new religion almost. And the coronavirus, I think, to me it seems like I don't want to downplay the effect and the importance of the virus, but to me it seems like an exercise to future crises that will come, an economic crisis and an ecological crisis. When it started, I saw a lot of beautiful individual acts or community acts by people around me who started to make face masks and distributing those masks, or distributing food that was necessary. People started to to show much more care to older people, for example. And now I think that the economical crisis started to affect people, and there is much more tension, and there was a tension after the first lockdown when people realized that it's really hard to live in this closed worlds, and not only that, but I think what is the hardest is the feeling of insecurity, that I think it's kind of general. In a way, I don't want. I guess this sounds pessimistic, but I think it's maybe realistic that we have to get used to this feeling of insecurity when I'm considering the very possible crisis that will come in the future. As soon as we will be able to get accustomed to this feeling of insecurity about the future, as maybe more happy we can live in that small everyday life. My last works, they are mostly in some way related to climate change, most of them. And as I explained in the first answer, obviously I see a very clear relationship between the topic of this festival or this exhibition and the climate change. And in some way it is the most basic and at the same time very deep question that we ask ourselves individually on a daily basis. Where are we heading? So yes, that I can say for sure that that question is in a way a part of everyday life. And the other side that I am solving, and I don't know a very good answer to that, because of the climate change, I have to ask myself very often if I am not contributing to the global warming by my art practice or my everyday life. It's very, I'm not I don't want to promote that much this way of thinking, because I think that we should be able to think beyond individual. We should be able to look at the systematic problems in our society and don't end up being just guilty and miserable. But it's something that, as I am a little bit also of an activist in this subject, I want to have it clear for myself. I want to be at calm when I am talking about this topic, that I did as much as I could. And that is also the question of, is the same thing of asking myself every day in every situation where I am going, what I am doing, and if I'm heading the right direction.